Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle, summarized in 15 minutes. You are not your mind. There is a silence within us that whispers softly, reminding us of our true essence beyond the constant mental chatter. Many of us, wandering in search of fleeting satisfactions, do not realize that we are like vagabonds who are unaware of the treasure hidden beneath our feet. We turn outward, yearning for bits of happiness, looking to others for validation, security, and love, unaware that within us lies a far greater good. This inner treasure is not only a refuge from all our longings, but a source of unshakable peace and joy, infinitely richer than any passing pleasure the outside world can offer us. Most people think too much, and that leads them to live separated in a world full of problems and endless fights, showing how divided the mind can be. The mind is very useful if we use it well, but if we do not use it correctly, it can cause a lot of harm. In reality, the problem is that many times we do not control it, but it controls us. It is possible to stop being controlled by the mind whenever we want. Have you found how to do it? If not, then the mind is controlling you. You have joined it without realizing it, to the point of not knowing that you are its prisoner. We all hear voices in our heads, thinking nonstop, and without us realizing that we can silence them. These voices give opinions, criticize, compare, complain, or approve, among other things. They come from our mind, shaped by our past experiences and the culture we receive. Often, these voices hurt us, as if we had someone inside us who criticizes us and makes us feel bad all the time. This takes away our energy and causes us sadness, pain, and even illness. The good news is that you can stop being controlled by your mind. Start by listening to the voices in your head whenever you can. Notice the thoughts that keep repeating themselves, the ones that have been playing in your head for years. When you hear these voices, try not to judge them, because if you do, it means that your mind has tricked you again. Your mind is a tool that you should use for specific tasks and put aside when you are done. Most of the time, 80 to 90% of our thoughts are repetitive, serve no purpose, and are usually negative. As you grow up, you create an idea in your mind about who you are based on what you have learned and the culture around you. We can call this the ego. For the ego, the present hardly matters. It is only interested in the past and the future. This error causes the mind, when acting from the ego, to not function well. It is always trying to remember the past because it thinks that without it, you would be nobody. It also spends a lot of time thinking about the future, trying to make sure that you will be okay, or looking to feel better, or fulfill some dream in it. If you really want to know your mind, the body will always give you a true reflection. So observe the emotion, or rather, feel it in your body. If there is an apparent conflict between them, the thought will be the lie, the emotion will be the truth. Not the ultimate truth about who you are, but the relative truth of your mental state at that moment. The more the mind tries to free itself from suffering, the greater the suffering becomes. The mind can never find the solution, nor can it allow itself to be found by you, because it is itself an intrinsic part of the problem. Pleasure is always derived from something outside yourself, whereas joy arises from within. The same thing that gives you pleasure today may give you pain tomorrow, or it may abandon you, so its absence will bring you pain. The pain you create now is always a form of non-acceptance, a form of unconscious resistance to what is. At the level of thought, resistance is a form of judgment. At the emotional level, it is a form of negativity. The intensity of suffering depends on the degree of resistance to the present moment. The more you are able to honor and accept the now, the freer you will be from pain, suffering, and the ego mind. Make the now the primary focus of your life. Whereas before you dwelt in time and made brief visits to the now only when required to handle the practical affairs of life, the reason you don't put your hand in the fire is not because you are afraid. It is because you know you will get burned. You don't need fear to avoid danger. You need only a minute of intelligence and common sense. The psychological condition of fear is divorced from any immediate, concrete, real danger. It comes in many forms: discomfort, worry, anxiety, nervousness, tension, dread, phobia, etc. This type of psychological fear always refers to something that might happen, not something that is happening now. You are in the here and now, while your mind is in the future. This creates an anxiety gap. You can always cope with the present moment, but you cannot cope with something that is only a projection of the mind. You cannot cope with the future. Time is not precious at all because it is an illusion. What you perceive as precious is not time, but the one point outside of time, the now. This is indeed precious. The more you focus on time, past and future, the more you miss the now, the most precious thing there is, because it is the most precious thing in the first place. Because that is the only thing. Life is now. There has never been a time when your life was not now, nor will there be. Secondly, now is the only point that can take you beyond the limited confines of the mind. Nothing ever happened in the past. It happened in the now. Nothing will ever happen in the future. It will happen in the now. What you think of as the past is a memory trace stored in the mind from a previous now. When you remember the past, you reactivate a memory trace, and you do so now. The future is an imagined now, a projection of the mind. When the future comes, it comes as the now. When you think of the future, you do so now. The past and the future obviously have no reality of their own. If you set a goal and work toward it, you are using the time of the clock. You are aware of where you want to go, but you honor and give your greatest attention to the step you are taking at that moment. If you focus excessively on the goal, perhaps because you are seeking happiness, fulfillment, a fuller sense of self in it, you no longer honor the now. You are reduced to a stepping stone to the future with no intrinsic value. The present moment is all you have. There is never a time in your life that is not this moment. What you perceive as the future is an intrinsic part of your state of consciousness now. If your mind is burdened with the past, you will experience more of the same. The past perpetuates itself through lack of presence. The quality of your awareness in this moment is what shapes the future, which of course can only be experienced as the now. The only place where real change can happen and where the past can be dissolved is in the now. Some things in the past did not go the way you wanted. You are still resisting what happened in the past, and now you are resisting what is. Hope is what keeps you going. But hope keeps you focused on the future. And this continued focus perpetuates your denial of the now and therefore your unhappiness. Problem means that you are stuck in a situation mentally without any real intention or possibility to act now, and that you are unconsciously making it a part of your sense of identity. If there is no joy, ease, and lightness in what you do, it does not necessarily mean that you should change what you do. It may be enough to change the how. How is always more important than what. See if you can give much more attention to the process of doing than to the result of what you want to achieve by doing it. Make it a habit to monitor your mental emotional state by observing yourself. I am calm right now is a good question to ask yourself frequently. Or you can ask, what is going on in me right now? Be at least as interested in what is going on inside as what is going on outside. If your inside is right, then the outside will be in order. Do you dislike doing what you are doing? It may be your job, or you may have agreed to do something and are doing it. But part of you is resisting and balking at it. You have an unconfessed resentment toward a person close to you. Do you realize that the energy you emanate from it is so harmful in its effects that you are, in fact, contaminating yourself as well as those around you? Whether your thoughts and emotions about your situation are justified or not makes no difference. The fact is that you are resisting what is. You are turning the present moment into an enemy. Negativity is never an optimal way to handle any situation. In fact, in most things, it keeps you stuck in it, blocking real change. Anything done with negative energy will become contaminated by it, and over time, will give rise to more pain, more unhappiness. Are you polluting the world or cleaning up the mess? You are responsible for your inner state. No one else is. How can we let go of negativity, as you suggest? You might ask. The answer is by letting it go, as you let go of a hot piece of coal in your hand, as you let go of a heavy, useless baggage you are carrying, by recognizing that you do not want to suffer the pain or bear the burden any longer, and then letting it go. If you had a choice, or realized that you really did have one, would you choose suffering or joy, tranquility or restlessness, peace or conflict? Would you choose a thought, a feeling that would separate you from your natural state of well-being, the joy of life within you? Are you defending your right to be unconscious, your right to suffer? Don't worry. No one is going to take that away from you. Once you realize that a certain type of food makes you sick, would you continue to eat that food and claim that it is okay to be sick? Complaining is always a lack of acceptance of what is. It invariably carries a negative and conscious charge. When you complain, you become a victim. When you explain, you are in possession of your power. So change the situation by acting or speaking out if necessary or possible. Get out of the situation or accept it. Anything else is madness. Wherever you are, be fully there. If you find your here and now intolerable and it makes you unhappy, you have 3 choices. Remove yourself from the situation, change it, or accept it totally. If you want to take responsibility for your life, you must choose one of those 3 options, and you must choose it now. Then, accept the consequences without excuses, without negativity. Or is there something you should be doing, but aren't? Get up and do it now. Or, alternatively, fully accept your inactivity, laziness, or passivity right now, if that is your choice. Xian, are you stressed? You are so busy trying to get to the future that the present is reduced to a means of getting there. Stress is caused by being here but wanting to be there, or being in the present but wanting to be in the future. It is a rupture that tears you apart inside. Die to the past in every moment. You don't need it. Refer to it only when it is absolutely relevant to the present. Ask yourself, what problem do I have right now? Not next year, tomorrow, or 5 minutes from now. What is wrong right now? You can always face the now, but you can never face the future. You don't have to. The right answer, force, action, or resource will be there when you need it, not before, not after. Something is taking away the joy of what you do. If you develop such a mental pattern, no matter what you achieve or accomplish, the present will never be good enough. The future will always seem better. You are usually waiting for something. How much of your life do you spend waiting? It is not unusual for people to spend their whole lives waiting to start living. There is nothing wrong with setting goals and striving to achieve things. The mistake is in using that as a substitute for the feeling of life. It is then like an architect who pays no attention to the foundation of the building, but spends a lot of time working on the superstructure. While the physical body normally ages and weakens fairly quickly, the inner body does not change over time, except that you can sense it more deeply and become it more fully. So, if you inhabit the inner body, the outer body will age at a much slower rate. Even when you do, your timeless essence will shine through the outer form, and you will not give off the appearance of an old person. The body loves the attention you give it. It is also a powerful form of self-healing. Most illnesses enter when you are not present in your body. If love is not present in the house, all kinds of shady characters will lodge in it. When you inhabit your body, it will be difficult for unwanted guests to enter. If you know where to look, you will find it everywhere. A door opens every moment. There is nothing you can do or achieve that will bring you any closer to salvation than you are right now. This can be difficult to grasp for a mind accustomed to thinking that everything worthwhile is in the future. Nothing you have done or had done to you in the past prevents you from saying yes to what is and focusing your attention deeply on the now. You cannot do this in the future. You do it now or you don't. Learn to give expression to what you feel without accusing. Learn to listen to your partner in an open, non-defensive way. Giving space to others and to yourself is vital. Nothing outside will satisfy you except temporarily, superficially. But you may need to experience many disappointments before you realize this truth. External things and conditions may give you pleasure, but they cannot give you joy. Don't focus on the 100 things you will or could do in the future, but on the one thing you can do now. That doesn't mean you shouldn't plan. Planning may be the only thing you can do now. But be sure you don't start playing mental movies, projecting yourself into the future, and thus lose the now. Any action you take may not bear fruit immediately. Until it does, do not resist what is. If you cannot act, and you cannot remove yourself from the situation, Use the situation to help you go deeper into surrender, deeper into the now. If you can never accept what is, that means you will never be able to accept people as they are either. You will judge, criticize, pigeonhole, reject, or try to change people. Furthermore, if you continually turn the now into a means to an end in the future, you will also turn every person you meet or associate with into a means to an end. Get the book at planetalibro.com.